Grandma screams, "Hold on, I'm coming," while bleeding, only to discover it's her own son. The night air crackled with an unsettling energy, thick and damp against Martha's frail skin. She shivered, but pushed through, unwilling to let age or pain stop her. Then it pierced through the silence, a scream that shattered the quiet of her small town. It sent a chill down her spine. "Aaron?" she gasped, clutching her side where the deep aches were almost unbearable. She was bleeding. The scar from her recent fall still throbbed, a reminder of her frailty. But the scream, it flickered like a flame, igniting a boldness she didn't know she had left. "Hold on, I'm coming," she cried out, her voice echoing against the empty streets. Underneath the cloak of night, she propelled herself forward, feeling both the weight of her past and the surge of hope mixing in an intoxicating blend. With every step, old memories clawed at her like vines. Bitter fights, silence, walls built too high between her and her only son. A flickering street lamp illuminated the path, casting long shadows that danced as she hurried along. The cobblestones beneath her feet felt jagged, a warning of what might lie ahead. The world around her dimmed to a whisper, as if the buildings themselves held their breath, sensing the urgency of her mission. In the distance, there was a sound, a crash, followed by muffled voices. Martha's heart raced. She sprinted, a frail figure pushed by adrenaline, her breath coming in. Rattled bursts. The weight of years teetered on her shoulders. But tonight those burdens transformed into determination. Just as she reached the corner, night dissolved into chaos. She saw them. A group of shadowy figures encircling a familiar form on the ground. It was unmistakable. Aaron. The sight gutted her as a low growl rose in the gathering darkness, echoing through the night like the howl of a distant storm. Her vision blurred. She felt lightheaded. "No," she gasped, forcing her weary legs to move even faster. Then she heard the voices again, cruel laughter mingling with Aaron's pained cough. How had it come to this? They had lost so much time to bitterness and unresolved wounds, and now, faced with the threat of losing him forever, sheer desperation coursed through her. "I'm coming!" she screamed again, louder this time, wrapping her resolve around her like a shield. But the predators were ready. As she stumbled forward, arms outstretched, they turned, seeing the frail lady that was their potential target. She was now the focus of their sinister game. A mere whisper of a mom, fighting for a son who had been so lost to her for too long. With a sudden chill, Martha felt something lurking behind her. A shadow. It loitered, waiting, and she turned, her heart pounding in her chest. The danger was palpable, thick enough to taste. She had to make a choice, save Aaron or confront the darkness that always followed her. Caught between fear and hope, she pressed on, with one thought enveloping her mind. What if they both could break free from the past? Could they find forgiveness in the heart of the night? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Caught between fear and hope, Martha pressed on, her heart a wild drum beating against her frail ribs. She felt a pull inside her, an explosion of motherly instinct clashing with the physical pain tearing through her body. As she stumbled closer to where Aaron lay, shadows twisted around her, dark and menacing, whispering of dread. But suddenly, everything shifted. From behind her, a figure emerged, stepping into the dim glow of the flickering street lamp. It was a woman, tall and shrouded in darkness, a shape that sent a jolt through Martha's chest. Then from beyond, an echo split the night. A familiar voice. "Mom?" It was Aaron, but the pain in his voice was buried under something else, something deeper. In that instant, the chaos faded and time stretched. The woman turned to face Martha, her expression eerily calm, and with a shiver crawling up Martha's spine, she realized it was her daughter, Kelly, dead for 10 long years. The shock swept through her like an electric current, freezing her in place. Tears blurred her vision as disbelief clawed at her throat. "Kelly," she breathed, the word raw on her lips. This couldn't be real. Could it? The daughter she lost in a tragic accident, the one who had shattered her family. But there she stood, her face strikingly familiar, eyes filled with secrets. "You shouldn't be here," Kelly said, her voice soft yet saturated with weight. "Not yet." Martha's heart pounded, pumping adrenaline into her veins. "What do you mean? I thought you were gone!" She stepped closer, trembling. Behind her, Aaron's cries faded to a whisper, a background noise overshadowed by the reunion unraveling before her. "Don't you see?" Kelly's gaze hardened, and it felt like the ground shifted beneath Martha's feet. "I'm here because of you. I never left, Mom. It's always been you." Words entangled themselves, twisting in the air like smoke. "I don't understand." Martha's voice cracked, drowning in confusion. She had lost everything, knitted together a life without her daughter, buried the echoes of laughter. "Why did you leave me? Why are you here now?" "I was trying to protect you," Kelly answered, a flicker of sorrow passing over her face. "You think the past ended with my death? It's been playing out all along. Your choices, your pain, it all ties back to me. Those moments defined your life, but you never saw the whole picture." Martha staggered back, bumping into the rough brick of a nearby building. Was this truly her daughter? Was this a cruel trick of the night? The thrum of voices mixed with a rising tension as the onlookers gaped, stunned into silence. Before she could gather her thoughts, a shout fractured the air. "Mom! Help!" It was Aaron, his voice pulling her back from the edge of her broken reality. She turned back, frantic, and saw him fighting against the shadows, desperate and alone. "Martha," Kelly said, urgency in her voice now. "You have to choose, him or the truth you refuse to face. You can't save both." The world blurred and spun, cutting her heart in two. Her son lay there, gasping for help, and the daughter she had long mourned stood in front of her, summoning the truth. What would she choose? The fear of the unknown wrapped itself around her throat, tightening like a noose. "You can't," she stammered, torn between two lives, two loves. "I can't lose him again." But as the shadows closed in and the air thickened with choices, the chilling reality hung heavy in the night. All she could do was stand in the fading light, caught in the storm of it all. In that moment, the ground seemed to quake beneath her feet, tearing the fabric of reality apart. Secrets lingered in the air, waiting to be unveiled, waiting to shift everything she thought she knew. What was truth now, and who would pay the price for her decision? Martha stood frozen, the weight of her choices pulling her down. Kelly's gaze bore into hers, intense and unyielding. "You have to choose!" Her voice echoed like a bell tolling in the night. But before Martha could even process the sight of her girl, a shockwave rippled through the crowd. "Mom, please!" Aaron's plea sliced through the air, and with it came a new sound, dreadful, oppressive. The shadows around him seemed to stretch and shift, pooling like thick fog. The ground beneath her feet trembled, and Martha felt as if the earth itself was about to split open. Suddenly, the cries turned into something more, a cacophony of laughter merging with screams. Those shadowy figures began to change, their faces distorting into grotesque masks of mockery. Martha's heart pounded in her chest. What was happening? Her stomach churned. She instinctively reached for Aaron's outstretched hand, but the darkness seemed to snatch it away. Everything spun. Kelly's image blurred, her lips still moving, but the words transformed into a terrifying language Martha couldn't understand. And the shadows that once haunted her began to rise, swirling around her in a violent tempest. Every whispered fear, every doubt she had ever harbored took form, taking liberties with her sanity. They coiled around her, stinging like being caught in a storm. "Mom!" Aaron screamed again, but it was as if the ground had swallowed his voice. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness, shoving through the chaos. It was a man, tall and sharp. His eyes glinted under the flickering light of the street lamp. Martha strained to see. It was Richard, her late husband, standing there like a ghost torn from some distant memory. Richard? Confusion flooded her. "How? What are you doing here?" The questions tumbled out, but she couldn't focus, torn between the horror unfolding before her and the sight of the man she believed to be gone forever. Her chest tightened. Could it be real? "You need to choose, Martha," he shouted, his voice underclap against the chaos swirling around them. "You don't have much time." "Choose?" she echoed, panic gripping her. "Choose what?" But Richard stepped closer, the shadows recoiling as if they recognized him, the one who had once been a pillar in her fractured world. He pointed towards Kelly and Aaron. "You have to save one of them. You're the center of this storm. Your decision will change everything." Martha's head spun as his words crashed against her. The storm raged on, her life's painful past swirling in a cyclone, taunting her with what could have been. "I can't lose anyone else." "Then you must confront your truth." Richard's face hardened, and for the first time, she noticed the blood on his shirt, a deep crimson that stained the fabric like a bouquet of anger and loss. "What truth?" she cried out, voice trembling. "They're not who you believe them to be." His eyes darkened, and shadows twisted like whispers closer to him, ensnaring his presence in a deepening abyss. "What do you mean?" Desperation clawed at her vocal cords. But before he could reveal what was buried deep, the ground beneath them roared, cracking like a shattered mirror. The shadow figures howled, and the air grew thick with dread and confusion. Martha felt that very moment stretch out, each choice like a tear in the fabric of reality. The weight of it all pressed down on her like a heavy blanket. It was too much. Just then, the shadows surged forward, melding into a wave of chaos, collapsing the ground around them into darkness. With one last glance at Richard, who seemed to dissolve into the void, Martha cried out, "No!" Then the world fell away, leaving her suspended in fear, a question echoing in her heart. What if they had always been the same? What if the shadows held truths she didn't want to face? Caught in that precarious moment, she realized she wasn't just fighting for Aaron. No, tonight she was fighting for her own soul. Would she lose herself to these dark revelations, or could she wrest control back from forces both familiar and terrifying? Martha stood frozen, the weight of her choices pulling her down. The shadows coiled tighter, whispering truths she didn't want to hear. Kelly's gaze bore into hers, a mixture of urgency and compassion. "You have to choose!" Her voice echoed against the chaos, a haunting melody of loss. But then the ground shuddered beneath them, cracking with a roaring vengeance. A surge of darkness rose, and for a moment, Martha thought she might be swallowed whole. She stood on the edge of a chasm, her heart racing like a wild animal trying to escape. "Mom!" Aaron's scream snapped her back to reality. She couldn't lose him. The fire of motherly instinct ignited in her chest, driving her to the brink of a desperate decision. "I'm coming!" she shouted, reaching for him. But as she did, a blinding flash illuminated the night. A figure burst through. The shadows! It was Matthew, Aaron's best friend, the boy she thought had died years ago in a tragic car accident. Stunned, Martha's breath hitched. "Matthew?" The word fell from her lips, soaked with disbelief. His eyes were wide, frantic. "We have to get out of here!" he yelled, his voice shaking with urgency. "They're coming!" Before she could wrap her mind around his presence, the shadows surged, forming into faces that twisted in agony. Martha's heart sank. "You're dead! How can this be?" The scene was like something out of a nightmare. "Not dead," he replied, breathing heavily. "Trapped. Like you. Like Aaron. You need to wake up. This isn't real." Behind them, the chaos grew. Aaron was fighting against the dark figures, his face twisted in fear, calling out for her. "Mom, please." "Martha, listen," Matthew interrupted, pointing towards Aaron. "You can either save him or face the truth. The choice is yours." Everything inside her screamed to save her son. But Matthew's words hung in the air, heavy like lead. What truth? Was there more to this nightmare than she understood? "Why are you here?" she stammered, desperate for answers. The shadows roared, looming closer, and she felt a chill seep into her bones. "I came back to warn you," Matthew said, tears shimmering in his eyes. "I've watched you struggle, watched the shadows take over. You can't let them win." And then it hit her. A jolt of realization, sharper than the cold night air. This wasn't just about saving Aaron. It was about saving herself. What if Matthew was right? What if they all were bound by a truth deeper than her pain? Suddenly, the shadows morphed, shifting into figures of those she had lost, taunting her. The laughter echoed, a sinister melody of memories she wished to forget. Richard's face twisted in anger. He stepped forward. "You couldn't protect us, and you still can't." No, she shouted, but the wind whipped around her like a storm, drowning her voice. The shadows rose, cloaking her vision, obscuring everything she loved. The faces twisted, melting into one another, their eyes hollow with sorrow. Just then, a whisper cut through the chaos. "Mom, please." It was Aaron again, his voice breaking her heart. "I can see you." In that instant, Martha felt a crushing weight, a shattering realization. What if all of this wasn't about sacrifice, but about understanding? What if the greatest fear hidden in the shadows was not death, but unforgiven mistakes? She felt tears stream down her cheeks. "What do I do?" Her voice trembled, ricocheting into the abyss. And then, without warning, the ground lurched. The shadows, those harbingers of her pain, began to pull apart. And for one fleeting moment, she saw a glimpse of hope, a way out. "Go to him!" Kelly screamed, her voice booming now. But just as her body turned towards Aaron, something gripped her heart, heavier than grief, more profound than fear. It felt like betrayal. In an instant, Matthew's face changed, a sly grin curling his lips. "Do you really want to know the truth, Martha?" With a jolt, the pieces fell into place. Questions, doubts, and unspoken feelings swirled, battering against her consciousness. But just before she could answer, another rumble echoed, and the world began to fracture, pulling her away from both Matthew and Aaron. "Mom!" Aaron cried, lost in the spiraling chaos. But before Martha could reach him, a deafening roar filled the air, drowning out everything. The last thing she saw was Matthew, a wretched smirk morphing into something darker as the shadows engulfed her, whispering secrets of a life she never expected to face. Questions flooded her mind as the darkness pulled her in. What was real? Who could she trust? And as the chasm of night swallowed her whole, one thought screamed in her heart. Could she even save herself? Martha felt the darkness pull her in, a maw of despair. The shadows whispered accusations, twisting her memories into nightmares. "No!" she screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the void, just as everything threatened to consume her. A sharp pain bloomed in her chest, a glaring agony that cracked through the haze. Suddenly, a jolt coursed through her body, and she gasped. The breath escaped her lips in a rush, drawing her back to clarity. The chaos faded. The shadows retreated, morphing into a blinding light, but the respite was momentary. The brightness coiled into a form, a figure emerging from the light, ethereal yet familiar. The voice was heavenly. It shook her to the core. She squinted against the glare as it coalesced into a woman. Long hair, haloed by the glow. Kelly stood before her, more radiant than ever. "You're not supposed to be here," Martha breathed, her heart racing. But something was wrong. Why did Kelly look so confident, so commanding? "I'm here to help you," Kelly said, stepping forward, eyes glimmering with determination. "No, my son!" Martha's voice splintered, desperation clawing at her throat. "I have to save him." "No!" Kelly's voice boomed, cutting through Martha's chaos. "You need to see the truth. What you don't know will destroy you." And then, just like that, the scene twisted again. The light flickered, and suddenly shadows rushed back. But they weren't just screaming voids anymore. They morphed into shapes, images from Martha's life, moments long hidden. Faces from her past, laughter turned to tears, the warmth of her family dissolving into chilling silence. They surrounded her, each a memory trapped, each one a knife in her heart. Aaron! The cry ripped from her again, but the shadows pressed in. Please, not again! But amidst the turmoil, a new voice broke through, a familiar one. Mom, I'm here. There stood Aaron, not in dire pain, but strong and defiant. Mom, listen. He advanced through the swirling gloom, his presence cutting through the suffocating darkness like a beacon. Martha, Aaron has to stay, Kelly said, her tone shifting. You can't have both. What do you mean? The confusion swirled inside her like a storm. Mom, he's not who you think he is, Aaron's voice quavered. Neither of us are. And in that instant, everything shifted, mocking Martha in shock. What? It echoed in her mind, a scream of disbelief. But just then, the shadows twisted, revealing more darkness under the surface. A figure emerged from the chaos. It was Richard, her late husband, alive and standing right there, his eyes filled with a knowing sadness. Richard? She couldn't catch her breath. How is this possible? It's time for the truth, Martha. His voice throbbed with urgency. Don't you see? The love you think you lost, everyone you've mourned, it's not as it seems. We were all brought back for you, Kelly added, stepping closer, an unearthly glow about her. But your refusal to see the truth binds us here. The chilling realization struck her. What truth? Have you all been lying to me? Aaron's expression twisted. We're not alive, Mom. None of us. What? Her heart pounded wildly, fear clawing at her. Then what are you? It's a trap, Mom. A tempest of your own making, Aaron shouted, the shadows flickering around him. You have to face your grief. Then, in a moment of dreadful clarity, she felt it. The shadows weren't just darkness, but reflections of her own unresolved pain, the secrets she had buried deep. But I couldn't save you, she wailed, tears falling. No, you wouldn't let us go. Richard stepped forward, his face pale, but resolute. You have the power to break us free, but you must choose. The shadows swirled, contorting around them, a whirlwind of grief and betrayal. Choose? Pain collided with realization, a twist in her gut. Yes, save yourself or remain in this cycle forever. But just as she prepared to stand firm, a laughter arose, cold as ice, echoing through the night. It twisted around her, as if mocking her, silencing every hope. Choose, Martha, echoed from all sides, a chaotic chorus. But which path did she take? As the light dimmed and shadows clawed once more at the edges of her being, a sudden pull enveloped her. Something darker, more sinister. She couldn't escape it. No, she cried out, as everything swirled into chaotic color and sound. One thought blared loud and clear. Who was really trapped here? And who would pay the price for the truth? In that swirling chaos, she saw a shadow shift, a figure lurking behind her, just on the edge of her vision. Who was it? And why did it feel so familiar? The shadows twisted around her, swirling like smoke in a dark room. Martha felt a familiar prickling at her spine, a chill that signaled something deep and unsettling. The faces of her past pressed in tighter, their whispers curling like dark tendrils around her heart. Richard, Kelly, and Aaron each held fragments of love and pain, but they were also carrier pigeons of secrets she had never unveiled. Martha blinked, her vision faltering as she strained to grasp the moments that flared dangerously close. The figure lurking just out of sight. Was it Matthew? Now she felt the urgency of the storm closing in on her, threatening to swallow the last glimmers of hope. She stepped back, the ground unsteady beneath her, and at that moment she saw it, a familiar shadow darting behind her. Not Matthew, not Aaron, or even Richard. Something much darker. "Martha!" The voice came sharp like a knife, stirring the air. It was a man, tall, imposing, and terrifyingly familiar. "You weren't supposed to see this." Her breath caught. It couldn't be. "Lucas?" The name fell from her lips like a curse. Lucas, her estranged brother, the one who vanished into the void of her past. "But you died! I'm not dead!" he hollered, his eyes crazed with desperation. "I've been trapped, held hostage by your grief. You needed to confront it, and I had to make sure you did, at any cost." The air crackled around them, a weight settling as shadows writhed, casting chaotic shapes like faceless lost souls. "Wait, why didn't you come back?" The realization clawed at her heart. "You abandoned me! Why?" He stepped closer, a mix of anger and sorrow painting his features. "Because you wouldn't let go. You refused to accept the truth. The truth is, you're not just fighting to save Aaron. You're fighting to save yourself from this nightmare." Martha's heartbeat thundered. The shadows flickered in and out, echoing her scattered thoughts. "I tried. I lost you all. No." Lucas's voice boomed, reverberating through the dim night, drowning out the chaos. "You have to listen. It's time to face what you've buried. You think Kelly, Richard, and Aaron are here to hurt you? No. They're here to reveal the life you didn't want to see." Just then, a thunderous sound rattled the ground. Darkness curled like smoke, enveloping everything as the faces shifted, revealing not just memories but twisted versions of her own mistakes, her fears, and unspoken histories. "Martha!" Kelly's voice broke through the haze, urgency in her tone. "Don't listen to him. He wants to trap you here." "Why should I trust you?" Martha shot back, torn between their words. "You all led me to this darkness." "Because they're all connected," Lucas exclaimed, pointing towards the shadows that churned violently behind him. "I'm the one who died in that car wreck, not you. You saw me die, and it shattered your world. And in that moment, you lost your way. You tried to reach for those you loved, but you pushed away anyone who tried to truthfully help you." Stunned, Martha staggered back, thoughts racing through her mind. The ground trembled again, and she felt a sharp pain prick her chest. The truth, raw and familiar. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "Not you. It can't be true." "I'm the catalyst. Your brother. You need to let go of your grief. It's time to..." Aaron pushed through the swirling shadows, face pale, eyes wild. "Mom, don't listen to him!" His voice hitched. It was a plea laden with confusion and a fierceness Martha had never seen before. But as the cacophony grew, something inside her twisted, a revelation both terrifying and liberating. Voices swarmed around her. "Choose, Martha. Who will you save?" And all at once, the world around her erupted in chaos. The shadows, twisted faces of lost hope and broken dreams. surged forward, shrieking with laughter. Here was the real stake in this night's madness. Her heart, her family, everything had been built on secrets, stitched together with threads of lies. "Mom!" Aaron cried, reaching out again, his figure flickering in the dark foreboding. That's when she felt it, a strange pull, a bond thicker than blood. In that moment, she knew. Was she ready to look beyond the last vestiges of her heart and face the truth? Or would she let the darkness consume her once more? As everything darkened, the shadows creeping in until she could barely breathe, a single thought shattered through the noise. The truth was far from what she imagined, and the cost of knowing it might be her very soul. Who will you choose? The question echoed as darkness closed in, and the lines between reality blurred. In that stifling, heavy moment, the world around her faded away, leaving her grappling with the weight of ultimate betrayal and revelation. Where would her choice lead her? Salvation or damnation? Martha stood in the swirling dark, caught in the cyclone of shadow and truth. Every heartbeat echoed in her ears, each pulse a reminder of the choice looming over her, thick as fog. The figures blurred before her, a twisting kaleidoscope of her past, vibrant with loss and anger. "Mom, don't listen to him!" Aaron's voice cut through the chaos, desperation lacing his words. She turned to him, his face a flash of panic in the looming darkness. "Please." As the tumult around them tightened, Lucas stepped forward, his expression raw with something she hadn't expected. Fear. "They're manipulating you, Martha. You can't trust them." "What do you mean?" she gasped, bewildered by the sense of betrayal flickering in his eyes. Behind them, the shadows distorted, twisting into grotesque versions of herself, leering as if they thrived on her confusion. "Killing us? The guilt? It's all consuming!" Lucas shouted, desperation turning to fury. "You created this nightmare, Martha, and now you have to face it." Just as the words hit her like a wave, a crack echoed like thunder through the air. The ground quaked beneath her, energy surging, and suddenly a piercing scream that brought an icy dread with it. Martha fought to stay focused. She scanned the dark, frantically searching for clarity. But before she could breathe, something unimaginable happened. The figures around Aaron suddenly morphed into rushing shadows, revealing a massive beast, its form shifting like smoke, eyes glowing with a sickly green light. It lunged forward, a nightmarish entity chasing after Aaron. "Aaron!" Martha screamed, panic-inducing, a surge of adrenaline that flowed through her veins. But in that moment, the beast whirled, revealing a truth that defied her senses. A searing flash, a face unmistakable. It was Richard. Not her husband, but a dark specter wearing his face, distorted by rage and grief. "You should have let go," he roared, mouth stretching into a grin that chilled her to the bone. "No, it can't be." Martha's reality shattered. The shadows pulsed around them, echoing as Richard's twisted version advanced. "You're the keeper of this darkness, Martha. You think you're here to save them, but you're the one who created this chaos. Their pain is your doing." "No!" she shrieked, tears spilling from her eyes. But the truth hung there, heavy, the air thick with the stench of betrayal. Faces twisted in the shadows mocked her, laughter mingling with the growing horror. Was this her fault? Suddenly, a flare of light caught her attention. Kelly stepped forward, eyes blazing. "Martha, listen to me. You're the key. You can free them, but you have to accept the truth of your past." But just when Martha thought hope flickered in that light, the beast lunged again, this time knocking her back into the abyss. Suddenly, reality warped, memories flooding in with blinding speed, swirling and clashing. "Stop!" she shouted, fighting against the tide. In the heart of the chaos, something sharp pierced her chest. A jolt surged through her. Then she saw it. A shimmering portal opened just behind the beast, winking like a star in the night sky. It called to her, a glimmer of hope amidst the madness. "Choose," echoed through the dark, visceral and powerful. Would she step through it to find the truth, or risk losing everything she held dear? Then, just as she moved toward the light, the shadows exploded around her. A thunderous roar filled her ears, and she realized the onslaught was not about to end. It was just beginning. At that moment, a crashing wave of revelation slammed into her. "You're not the keeper of your darkness. You're just its puppet." Lucas's voice rose above the chaos, an unexpected wrench that twisted her heart. "Let go, Martha. Stop hiding. Stop reliving your mistakes." With those words echoing in her mind, Martha teetered on the brink. Who was she if the darkness wasn't hers? Would accepting this truth mean losing everything she held so close? But the recognition hit her like a cold wind. The beast wasn't just a monster. It was a reflection of her pain. This was not just about saving Aaron. It was about redefining who she was at her core. And with that realization spiraling inside her, she found herself asking, was it possible to save her son and herself? The shadows screamed. The world twisted. A moment suspended in the air. And as she reached out toward the shining portal, the ground roared, shadows swirling, and an unexpected thought flickered in the back of her mind. What if this wasn't just about saving them? What if it was about understanding the true nature of love, loss, and sacrifice, unraveling the net of lies and hurt that bound them all? The future hung in the balance, a question lingering in the dark. Would the truth set her free, or would it bind her even tighter to the shadows? Only one choice remained. Martha hovered on the edge of the abyss, the swirling shadows whispering secrets that felt too heavy to bear. Every heartbeat surged in her chest, louder and louder, drowning out the chaos around her. The portal glimmered, a sliver of hope, but just as she reached for it, everything shifted. The ground shook violently, and the beast's form warped into something more monstrous, more dreadful. A roar erupted that echoed like thunder. "Martha!" Aaron screamed. "Don't!" In that moment, a blinding flash illuminated the darkness, and everything froze. The edges blurred, reshaping her reality like a shattered mirror piecing itself back together. Then, from the center of that light, something began to crystallize, a figure emerging with an intoxicating aura. It was Kelly. But not just Kelly. She looked younger, almost dreamlike. "Mom, stop! You're running out of time! What are you doing here?" Martha gasped, confusion twisting her stomach. "I'm the reason," Kelly's voice sounded urgent, each word pressed against the walls of Martha's heart. "The reason for everything. You need to understand. It's all been a lie. You're not just fighting for Aaron or even against your guilt. You're fighting for the truth of our family." "What do you mean?" Martha felt the ground beneath her tremble in response, the darkness becoming almost suffocating. "Mom, listen! Richard, Aaron, they're not who you think!" Her voice heightened with intensity, desperation flooding into each syllable. "They are manifestations of your deepest fears and regrets. What you buried, it took form, and now it's haunting you." "Martha!" Lucas roared, stepping back against the shadows, his expression shifting from fury to almost desperate fear. "She's lying! You need to choose!" But before anyone could react, the shadows surged with a thickness that clawed at Martha's throat. The atmosphere pulsed as the entities around her transformed, faces shifting into moments lost, moments that tore her heart apart. "Stop!" she shouted, her own voice shaking. "You're not real!" And just then, the truth struck her. A flood of realization rushed in. Had she created this? Had her own anguish twisted them into dark mirrors of herself? Everything felt like a weight. A whirlwind of emotion swept over her. "No!" she cried, but it was too late. The shadows thickened, morphing into shapes she recognized. Not just visions of loss, but the ghosts of regrets she never faced. Then the ground cracked. The portal flickered. It was almost within reach. "Mom, please!" Aaron's voice echoed, but it sounded hollow now. In the midst of the chaos, there came a stab of clarity. Kelly took another step toward Martha, the glow around her fading, revealing something more. "You have to let go of the past to embrace the future." "Martha!" Lucas shouted again. "You can't trust her!" "No!" Kelly echoed fiercely. "He's not your enemy. He's what you turned him into." And just like that, Martha felt her heart falter, a sudden realization twisting her insides. Lucas, it was always him. He was the shadow. He was the dark secret lurking just beyond her consciousness, blocking her from the truth. The family member she never truly accepted. "What do you mean? What's your connection?" she gasped, swept away by revelations colliding in her mind. "Mom!" Aaron's voice quivered, and the shadow shrunk back, revealing moments from her past that intertwined and wove a tale she had never noticed. "We all want you to forgive us, to forgive yourself." Suddenly, a laugh echoed from the depths of the shadows, chilling her. It was Richard, twisting into view. "You never understood, did you? They're all here because of you. You've lost everything because you were never willing to face the truth." Laughter punctured the silence, revealing a dark reality she couldn't escape. Realization crashed over her. What truth? In that moment, without warning, the ground beneath her began to shatter. She felt the vacuum pull her back as the darkness surged to envelop them. But it was too late. As the illusion of control slipped through her fingers, she gasped at the revelation washing over her. It was all a cruel cycle, binding them in a web of lies and pain. The shadows danced, million pieces, and Martha felt herself suspended in disbelief. The whispers of the shadows turned to screams, echoing against the chaos unfurling around her. No more would she be the puppet dancing to their tune. She would take control. But just as she decided to reach deeper for the truth, the ground beneath her feet buckled again. Then came the flash, bright and searing. Light poured through the darkness like shattered glass. And at the center appeared someone new, a figure radiant and imposing, almost angelic, yet her heart twisted in recognition. Eleanor? The name slipped out before she could stop herself. It was her estranged sister, a specter from a life buried beneath betrayal and grief, a relationship left to rot. "But you're dead," Martha gasped. "I'm not dead, Martha." Eleanor's voice rang out with a strange warmth, mixed with something darker. "I'm here because you made me, because you can't keep running from the truth." The shadows trembled, as if acknowledging the weight of her words. "What truth?" Martha's chest tightened as dread curled in her stomach. "You abandoned me. You—" "Abandoned?" Eleanor cut her off, her eyes narrowing. "I wanted to protect you from the darkness you created, the pain you refused to face. I had to leave, wound laid bare." "Mom, don't listen!" Aaron shouted again, his voice thick with emotion, pulling at the threads of Martha's heart. "She's manipulating you." "No," Eleanor said, her voice a soothing slice through the chaos. "I'm here to help you unlock your true strength. All of this, the shadows, the guilt, it's not just about us. It's about holding on to pain that no longer serves you." Lucas stepped between them, snarling. "You can't trust her, Martha. She's a ghost, a figment of your guilty conscience, just like the rest." But as the shadows danced around them, Martha felt the tide turning. Anger flared within her, a fierce flame igniting from the depths of her despair. Why now? Why show up when everything is collapsing? "Because I'm what you've needed all along." Eleanor stepped closer, a sparkle of defiance igniting in her eyes. "The truth is, the beast you see isn't just a reflection of your pain. It's a manifestation of all the lies we've lived. And I'm part of it." The ground shook again, and reality twisted, distorting everything. The shadows hissed, a collective gasp. But then something snapped. Everything fell silent. Martha stood stunned. "What do you mean?" And that's when it happened. The inner truth erupted like a floodgate, emotions crashing like waves. Eleanor continued, her voice both soft and sharp. "You need to forgive yourself. Because the truth is, you are never alone in your grief. I made the choice to leave, to let you suffer. And live with it. But I can't take it anymore." "No!" Martha cried, grasping for stability. "What have you done?" With that, Eleanor's form flickered, shadows blurring around her. The faces of those she thought she saved emerged from the gloom, twisted with betrayal. "You think you need to save them? Protect Aaron? You have to save us from the web you spun. You've kept us all bound in your sorrow, Martha." The revelation hit hard, cold and heavy. Pain tightened at her throat, and tears pooled in her eyes. "You've been hiding this from me? After all those years?" "Hidden to protect you," Eleanor's voice rose. "But now, no more lies. We are shackled by what we've done. You must break the bond, or we're all lost." And then came that onslaught again, the shadows roaring back, growing ever closer. Reality warped, folding in on itself like a dying star. With every breath, Martha felt it, the weight of the truth crushing her. The edge of despair split open, leaving her teetering. She needed to decide. But as the darkness crept closer, a dawning realization washed over her. Who was truly the enemy here? Was it the shadows, or the painful secrets they revealed? Caught between love and betrayal, all she knew was collapsing, unraveling around her. As the shadows surged, she realized she was left with one final question. Could she genuinely confront what she had created, and would it finally set them free? Martha clenched her fists, the tension vibrating through her bones like an electric current. Eleanor stood before her, shimmering and alive, but the weight of betrayal loomed heavily between them. "You're right," Martha whispered, her heart racing as she turned toward the swirling shadows. "I can't keep running from the truth." In that moment, the shadows recoiled slightly, as if sensing a shift. The echoes of her family's voices pulsed around her, desperate and longing. "Mom, you have to choose." Aaron's voice sliced through the din, urgency coloring each word. "Enough!" Martha roared, the power of her voice startling her. "I won't let the darkness control me any longer." The shadows writhed, distorting into visceral shapes. Spirals of anger and pain twisted like smoke in a storm. And a murmur of disbelief rippled through their ranks. Richard's contorted face loomed large, eyes glinting with that familiar betrayal. "You can't let them win. You belong with us." But Martha felt something shatter inside her. A window breaking open, letting in blinding light. "No, I belong with me. I've lost too much to keep burying it all beneath the soil of grief." Her words were a clarion call, a chaotic mixture of pain and power, ringing true through the storm. Eleanor, now glowing with determination, Martha stepped beside her. "Together, we can banish them. We can break this cycle." Martha steadied her breath, focusing on the truth that had long been obscured. "I release you all," she shouted, the words tumbling out like an incantation. The shadows writhed violently, voices twisting in agony. "You can't," they screeched, clawing at her sanity. But the light surged, enveloping her, pushing against the darkness as if fueled by Martha's newfound resolve. Her voice rang clearer now, stronger. "I forgive you. I forgive myself." With those words, a crack tore through the shadowy realm. Richard's face twisted into horror as the light erupted, casting the darkness into disarray. In that moment, those flickering ghostly figures, the tangled web of regrets and lost love, began to dissolve, shimmering into nothingness. "No! You'll regret this!" the shadows howled, dissipating like smoke in the wind. As they faded, the grip that had suffocated her soul loosened. Gasping, Martha felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The shadows receded, revealing Aaron, his face brimming with hope. He rushed to her, wrapping his arms around her in a fierce embrace. "Mom," he breathed, relief flooding his voice. "I'm here, sweetheart," Martha whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry for everything." "I thought I lost you," he murmured, pulling back to look into her eyes. "But," he glanced around, "what happened?" "The truth," she said, her voice steadier now. "I faced it, and I chose to let it go." In that moment, Eleanor stepped back into the light, a serene smile gracing her face. "You've done it, Martha! You freed us all!" Martha wiped away her tears, looking at her sister with gratitude. "Thank you for showing me the way." With a flicker of joy, Eleanor began to fade. "Remember, I'm always with you." And just like that, she vanished, leaving behind an echo of warmth. Martha turned to the now peaceful shadows. "I'll carry you with me, always." As they finally evaporated into radiant light, a sense of peace washed over her, settling deep within her soul. The night air now felt lighter, filled with clarity and compassion. Together, they stood, mother and son, ready to embrace a future unburdened by the past. Suddenly, a stillness blanketed the area, a beautiful silence where chaos once roared. Here, beneath the vast starry sky, they found solace. Redemption flickered in the air as dawn broke on the horizon. This was their moment to heal. The story had come full circle, leaving behind a tangled past now woven into strength. And as Martha held her son, she understood. The journey to forgiveness wouldn't end here, but she was ready. And hey, before you go, this is the time to act. You have to subscribe right now to this channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and help us grow bigger. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this concludes. Your support makes all the difference. Let's keep this amazing community thriving.